There's a part of the Grand Canyon that almost no one is allowed to enter. Not because it's impossible to reach, but because you're not supposed to. Satellite images show nothing unusual at first glance. Just rock, shadows, and layers of time stretching back millions of years. But some researchers and a handful of explorers have pointed out something strange. Shapes, patterns, formations that don't quite look random. Almost like vessels, not modern ships, but something older, something buried. So here's the question. What if a restricted zone inside the Grand Canyon isn't just protecting nature, but hiding something we don't fully understand? Because if even a small part of this claim is true, then the Grand Canyon isn't just a geological wonder. It's something else entirely. And the deeper you go into this story, the harder it becomes to separate what's known from what's simply never been allowed to be confirmed. In 1909, a man named G. Kincaid reportedly entered the canyon on a solo expedition. He wasn't a treasure hunter. He wasn't chasing myths. He was exploring, floating along the Colorado River, documenting rock formations, mapping terrain, doing exactly what explorers of that time did, until he noticed something unusual, a dark opening high in the canyon wall. Not a natural crack, not a random cave, something placed, something deliberate, and instead of ignoring it, he climbed toward it. According to reports published at the time, what Kincaid found inside wasn't just a cave. It was a structured interior, rooms, passageways, walls that appeared carved, not eroded. And deeper inside, objects, artifacts, shapes that resembled tools, and even symbolic figures. But what stood out most wasn't just the existence of the chamber. It was the organization, the layout. Some descriptions even suggested that certain formations resembled elongated structures, aligned in a way that reminded observers of vessels, like something stored or preserved. But here's where things become unclear. Because after that report was published, everything went quiet. No official follow-up, no confirmed excavation, no public records validating the discovery. Institutions like the Smithsonian Institution reportedly denied involvement. And over time, the story faded into the background. But it never disappeared, because people kept asking the same question. If nothing was found, then why was access to certain areas of the canyon quietly restricted? Fast forward to today. Modern mapping technologies, satellites, drones, geological scans, have given us a clearer picture of the canyon than ever before. And yet, there are still zones that remain off-limits. Officially, these areas are restricted for safety, preservation, or environmental protection. And those reasons are valid. The canyon is dangerous, unstable, unpredictable. But when independent analysts examine high-resolution imagery, some notice patterns that feel unusual. Linéaire formation, repeated structures, shadows that suggest depth where none should exist. Of course, geology can explain a lot. Erosion creates symmetry. Layering creates alignment. The human brain looks for patterns, even when they're not intentional. But here's the problem. No one outside authorized teams can physically verify these locations. And without verification, the uncertainty remains. Imagine standing at the edge of the canyon, looking down into a place that has existed for millions of years, knowing that most of it has never been fully explored. And somewhere within it, there are areas you're not allowed to enter. Not because they don't exist, but because they're off limits. Now, imagine hearing that inside one of those areas, there might be something structured, something arranged, something that doesn't fully match the natural world around it. Would you believe it? Or would you assume there's a simpler explanation? That tension between curiosity and skepticism is what keeps this story alive. The real turning point isn't the discovery itself, it's the restriction. Because when a place is open, it can be studied, documented, understood. But when it's closed, it becomes something else, a boundary. And boundaries change perception. They create questions, not necessarily because something is hidden, but because something isn't accessible. And in a place as vast as the Grand Canyon, that lack of access leaves room for interpretation. Here's what we do know. The Grand Canyon contains thousands of caves. Many are still unmapped. Some have revealed evidence of early human presence, tools, storage areas, signs of habitation. Geological formations inside the canyon can appear incredibly structured due to natural processes. Vertical fractures, horizontal layers, intersections that create geometric shapes. From a distance, or even in photographs, these can resemble artificial designs. And that's important, because it shows how easily perception can shift. What looks intentional may still be natural. What feels constructed may still be formed by time. But even with all of that, the question doesn't fully disappear, because the canyon is simply too large, too complex, too incomplete in terms of exploration. There are places we've studied, and places we haven't, and it's within those unexplored spaces that stories like this continue to exist. Sometimes the mystery isn't about what's hidden, but about how much we're still unable to reach. The idea of an ancient fleet hidden within a forbidden zone of the Grand Canyon may never be confirmed, and it may never need to be. Because the real significance of this story isn't in proving it true or false. It's in understanding why it continues to exist. In a world where almost everything can be mapped, scanned, and explored, places like the Grand Canyon remind us that some boundaries still remain. Not just in geography, but in knowledge. And maybe the most important question isn't whether something is hidden there, but how much of the world can still remain unknown, despite being right in front of us.